Is there anything that you might highlight for us, maybe some top three habits or highlights or pillars that people could take away maybe from your book that they could implement?
Yeah, I would say, since we've spoken so much about gratitude, I'm going to leave that one aside, but that is definitely one of our top
You can
three.
talk more about
Uh,
that. Trust me, you're in the right venue for that one. But
I
yeah,
know.
you go where you're going.
I'll give a few other tools out there for people. So I would say, if there are a couple other things, maybe we'll do three other things. So number one, we did talk about nutrition a little bit. We talked about the 5 F's. One of the things that we find with people is their relationship with food is a problem. They either look at it as like just a reward system. So they eat and they kind of let their body dictate that reward system. And so it's sugar and processed foods and things that feed kind of that give you that immediate boost and high. And they don't realize that it's kind of in some ways a food addiction. I also see this a lot in functional medicine. People develop almost a fear of food and it's this sort of negative relationship because they don't know what to eat. Food, it causes their gut to be inflamed or they don't feel good when they eat a lot of different foods and they don't know which ones are causing problems. And so then they almost just hate eating and they have to eat to survive, but they develop this negative relationship that way. And so I think number one is just finding a meaningful relationship to just see food as sort of this positive, good thing, this nourishing thing. There may be some foods that your body can't handle right now. It doesn't mean that food is bad or that food in general is bad. It means that we need to find a way to help your body to work with that food in a different way, maybe take it out for a time. But developing a positive relationship with food, a meaningful, purposeful relationship with food as medicine, food as healing, not as just kind of this way to kind of make yourself happy and give into to the natural sort of desires of your body, but that you can have a control over that. And one thing that I found with myself is the more that you fuel yourself with the right things. So we talked about some of those color-rich vegetables, those fermented foods. You start to find that it shifts. What happens is it shifts the bacterial balance in your gut, which shifts the signaling that goes to your brain, which shifts what you crave. And so you'll start to crave and enjoy things that you never thought you would before. People will often ask in social media, they'll say, yeah, I know you eat these things, but I don't think I could ever give this up, this whatever it is, right? And I always tell people, just don't worry about like giving up your favorite food right now. Just start to ease into this really helpful, sort of nutritious, nourishing, uplifting food. And you'll find that your brain just starts to crave different things. And so you may still want to have your favorite cookie or whatever it was, but you won't find that you crave it in the same way. And you might find that there are other things that actually give you a little bit more of a boost that are different from what you're sort of thinking you're going to have to give up right now. So food is a big one, and that relationship with food is big. Number two would be finding ways to move. We talked about intentional, and intentional movements are important. There are a lot of people who will kind of use those two extremes of examples again. There are people who just really don't like to exercise. They consider it a four-letter word. As soon as we start to kind of give some recommendations, they're like, just don't tell me to exercise, whatever you do. I'll do anything else, but don't tell me to exercise. And I always tell people, again, let's change the relationship that you have with exercise. You may remember like this Fit for Life class you had in junior high when you had to run and you just were miserable. I don't know what this sort of negativity is with the exercise for people, but you might have negative experiences. So let's just shift what exercise means for you. Let's say that it might just mean like meaningful movement. It might mean like gardening. It might mean that you are like mountain biking with, like I do, finding some way that is enjoyable for you. If it's a sport, if it's something active, or if it's just like not sitting as much and trying to move throughout the day. If you're at home and you're always doing chores and stuff and you're folding laundry and you're doing other things, that's great. That's movement, right? And exercise. So we have that camp, and just finding ways to say, let's make movement good and meaningful. And then we can add certain things into it to make it even more beneficial. Add some strength training where maybe you're lifting things a little bit more than you were, or balance, or whatever it might be. And then we have those people who kind of take exercise to an extreme. And there are some awesome, amazing extreme athletes. But sometimes what we find is that those people who get stuck in the fight or flight stress response, they tend to be the ones who exercise really, really hard. And so their body never quite gets a break from that stress response. Their cortisol's high, and then their cortisol's high when they're working out because they've really just pushed themselves super hard. And so if you find like you're exercising so hard and you're not feeling good or feeling better, then it might be time to kind of step back and say, maybe I need to implement more kind of restful and rebuilding types of movements into my exercise routine. So movement and nutrition are those two. Let's see, maybe let's just do relationships. I think that one's a really good one. It's it's fun to think about. This has been one that, again, is not typical. Like you go to a doctor and they say, you need to, in order to help with your health, you need to work on your relationships. But what I found, especially with brain health, there was such a cool connection with the number of meaningful connections and positive connections you have with other people, and the number of sort of neuron connections that you have in your brain and the specific pathways that they're turning on. And so as you look at sort of longevity research, we find that the people who have the most and the most meaningful or beneficial or positive relationships tend to be the ones who are living the longest and having the best health span in their life. And so I've shared this multiple times on social media, but finding ways to forgive people, to connect with people daily, to build more of a sense of gratitude and love and appreciation for people around you. And then what happens in cognitive decline or in other health conditions is you start to withdraw a little bit socially because interactions are maybe not as enjoyable. It might be, we talked about this, I did a presentation on this last week around maybe hearing loss is playing into that. And so you start to withdraw a little bit because you can't always understand what people are saying. And so you start to withdraw, or you can't, maybe your brain isn't working as fast, or you don't feel like you're giving as smart and meaningful answers as you used to. And so you start to withdraw. I saw this process play out in my dad very, very keenly. And it really sort of affected, as the more that he withdrew, the more that his cognitive decline progressed. And we see that over and over again with people. But it happens in every aspect of health. The more that you socially withdraw from people, the more that you kind of don't allow people into you and your relationship, the worse off that your health is. And so push against that. Connect with people, make intentional efforts to connect with somebody every day, at least one person, and start to expand that network. And you'll find that the more that you do that and the more you give of yourself to other people, the more that you get in return. And your health, your mental health, and your longevity will all benefit from it.